Good morning, good afternoon, good late afternoon. It's not evening yet, so we'll try and keep August in check so he doesn't talk us into the evening. But once you give
Not
August a
gonna happen.
microphone, it's difficult to get him to shut down. So we just want to thank you all for joining us. AVRTAC is facilitating this platform for RSA to provide this training. So that's a good deal for us, and we're happy to be able to support RSA in supporting the AVRS projects. So before we get started, I want to open the floor to an opening prayer. If somebody would like to do that, please raise your hand. Okay, everybody at once, put your hands down. All right, I will go ahead and open us in a good way. So as I do a prayer, I'm going to do it in English because I don't know all of the Blackfeet language. So I'm going to do it in English. Pray in your own way, and here we go. Creator, thank you for this day. Thank you for bringing us together, and thank you for having this opportunity to further our knowledge in serving our people. Open our minds and our hearts as we hear today and learn with each other, and protect all of us in our areas and our spaces, and watch over our families. And please watch over those who are struggling with addiction, and those who have disabilities as they struggle throughout their day. Watch over all of us as we provide services and supports to those individuals that need us, and our teams as we all work together. Oh. All right, it's my pleasure to introduce the one, the only, Mr. August Martin.
You're probably the only, and I'm sure the universe is going, yeah, we could only handle one of them. Hello, everybody. If you all don't know me, my name is August Martin. I work for the Rehabilitation Services Administration. I am a vocational program specialist, vocational rehabilitation program specialist. I've been here since 2006. Prior to that, I worked at the Western Washington University as a project director for the Oyate project. It was a capacity building training program. Some of you might be some of my graduates. I have not looked at every single name on here, but I worked there for 3 years. And then prior to that, I was a project director for my tribe, tribal vocational rehabilitation program at Clinton and Haida. I did that for 4 years. So all in all, I've been working with vocational rehabilitation since 1999. So this will be my 26th year in vocational rehabilitation. It's been an amazing job. I really love doing what I do, working with tribes. I'm going to continue my introduction for 2 more minutes just to make sure we have everybody that wants to join us. And by way of introduction, I will say that when I came to DC, prior to coming here to DC to work at the Rehabilitation Services Administration, my mom, who's the wisest person I've ever met, told me always to remember where you come from. Because the people that you are serving and working with are living in the same conditions that you grew up in. I grew up in a village called Cake in southeast Alaska. It was about 80 miles south east of Juneau, Alaska. We had a 2-bedroom house housing 7 of us. I have 3 older sisters and a twin brother. We did not have hot running water in our house, so we had to boil or heat up water on the wood stove that was in the middle of our living room. We did not have doors. We had curtains. We didn't have a tub. We had a cast iron tub hanging on the wall. So I grew up in conditions that are probably would be considered very difficult for many people nowadays. But I remember those conditions, and I remember those things to remind myself of the conditions that some of our people that we're serving continue to live in. And I hope that the difference that we make, not just at RSA, but you as project directors make are improving life for those who are receiving services from our program. So, all right. So that was just a quick biography of me. We do have my colleague Adrienne Rodriguez online. She's also program officer. I don't know if we have Veronica. I don't see her name, but Veronica Marable is also a program officer, and Joy Harris is a program officer. We've divided the 93 plus programs between the four of us, and we monitor your grants to ensure that goals, objectives are being met within the statutory and regulatory requirements of this program. All right, so this training is on the 6 month performance report. I am going to share my screen, which means I will not be able to see any questions that are raised within the chat room. I assume that everybody has access to that. If you called in from a telephone, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask a question at any time. If you're online here, I will take questions at any time during this presentation, so don't be afraid to interrupt me. I know for us indigenous, it's hard to talk over everybody else and stuff like that, but uh, give it a try. So I'm going to go ahead
Hey,
and share my
August,
screen. Yeah, go ahead.
while you're sharing your screen and getting your administrative side together, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Adrienne Rodriguez. I'm the project officer within AIVRS, and I just wanted to kind of put it out there that I do know that I'm seeing folks join. Hi, hello, my lovely grantees, my project directors. You all have different cohorts, so we have a mix. Ideally, the A4.250Q cohort is on the call. But again, if you are in the 250N and you're a new project director or just want to refresh, this is also a good opportunity to view and be in this space with us. So just wanted to preface that so people will kind of get confused, okay?
Okay, thank you. So you all received a letter requesting the 6 month performance report, which is due May 15th. You know that according to that letter, we have several components that are required. We have this cover sheet that we're going to talk about. We have a status chart that we'll be talk about after this cover sheet. It comes with an executive summary as attached to this cover sheet. We will need a copy of your most current indirect cost rate agreement. The indirect cost rate agreement should apply to the current grant that you're operating within this specific budget period. And there was one other thing, but I'm skipping it. Adrienne, do you remember, or is that all of the components?
Got it. It's all components.
Okay. All right. So those are the components you'll be required. Now you will be emailing these to us and not submitting them in G5. So that is a change. Uh, Please, again, to repeat, you will be emailing this report to us and not submitting it in G5. So with that, let's go ahead and walk through this form. This is an example only. You will be getting copies of these examples after the end of this training. I updated the status chart, so it is going to be a little different than the one you probably received from Avertech. Now for this, you're going to see up here to check the annual or the final. This is a 6 month performance report, so just don't check either one of those. Leave those blank. You're going to put your PR award number in here, which is H250Q2400, and the number that corresponds with your grant. For number 2, grantee NCES ID number, just put NA on that one. There's nothing you need to include on there. Now, if your project title is different than your grantee name, then you're going to put your project title in here. However, if your grantee name and your project title is the same, just enter your grantee name and leave the project title different. I believe the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe has a different project title, but the grant name is what's on block 1 of the grant award notification, which is the name of the tribe, which is the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe. If you're, yeah, so just to leave that as an example. And then include your grantee address, the project director, your name and your title, whether it's a project director or project manager. You're going to put your name and title there. Your phone number, and how many people actually have fax numbers still? I'm going to say just don't bother giving us your fax number if you have one, because everybody does work through email now. So we want the email address that is specifically listed on your grant award notification. All right, so the reporting period for this grant is a 6-month performance report. So you are reporting from October 1, 2024 through March 31st, 2025. You're only reporting on those activities, the goals, objectives, and activities described in your approved grant application for the first year and for the first 6 months of your year. We are going to use that data to determine substantial progress for your grant, so we can award you a continuation award for 2026 or 2026. I'm starting to lose track of what year we're in. I can't believe we're in 2025 already. What in the world happened? All right, so this is where everybody seems to get confused. Not everybody. This is where quite a few project directors get confused, which is number 8 on budget expenditure. And this is also for the finance office. If we have anybody from the finance office, this is how you're going to complete this portion of the cover sheet. So the budget expenditures for the previous year, which is 8A, you're not going to put anything in under federal grant or non-federal funds. And you can just put, if you want to put something in there, you can put NA, because you do not have a previous budget period specifically attached to the 250Q grant. So you're going to go right to 250B, and for under federal grant funds, we are not asking you how much you were awarded. We are asking you how much you actually expended between October 1, 2024 and March 31st, 2025. Now, we ask you to work with your budget office, or the budget office actually fills this out, either one, because you will have an accurate amount of how much you've actually expended during that period. Now, for the amount that you've expended, you should have a corresponding amount that you've contributed for the matching requirements. So for every dollar you expend, you're matching that dollar by a certain amount. So if you have expended $100,000 in the first 6 months, this is only example, by the way. If you expended $100,000 for the first 6 months of this grant, you're going to put that here, and then you're going to take that $100,000, you're going to divide it by 9. And the result of that, dividing it by 9, will give you how much you're supposed to match for that $100,000. And then you're going to determine whether or not the tribe actually contribute that amount of match for this first 6 months of this grant or not. Now, given the variable of um, reconciliation that each budget or finance office has, will determine whether or not you're up to date on those matching requirements. So this is going to be an estimate only, because you are still going through your entire year of expenditures and you're still needing your full year to be reconciled. What we're asking is how much you actually matched towards the amount you expended for this budget period. It doesn't have to be an exact amount, but you can, the budget office or finance office should be able to give you an estimate of how much the tribe contributed towards the matching requirement. It looks like there's a question raised, hand raised.
That's me, August.
Okay.
Oh, it's Adrian here. And I just wanted to add to that as well as a reminder at the 6 month mark where many of you are, we're already 2 quarters down. And so we should have ideally connecting with your finance office, making sure that when we're running our reports for large available balances, that's reflective in here. We don't want it to snowball later. So I know you'll get into that more later, August, but it
Oh,
just
absolutely.
kind of like poked in my mind when you were talking about this particular section. If we're seeing like zeros or not zeros, but if we're not seeing movement, then I know for me and the grantees in my portfolio, I'm asking those particular questions, as many of us are. But we're asking, where are you at with spending in Q1, Q2, and now we're in already Q3.
Thank you. And we do recognize that each tribe has its own schedule on when drawdowns are conducted and when expenditures are reconciled in their accounts. Some grantees go quarterly, some go on a month-to-month basis. So we do recognize that, which is why we do want at least some indication that funds are being spent and matching requirements are being met. Now, I will say from my own personal experience, when I was a project director, my finance office failed to draw down funds for a year and a half, which told the funding agency that my tribe probably didn't need that money. And so I had to go to my finance office and I started meeting with them on a monthly basis to walk through the expenditures and the reconciliation sheets or the expenditure sheets to see what was liquidated and what was still outstanding. So I do encourage you to have a conversation with your business office, your finance office, to determine what kind of schedule they employ regarding drawdowns and reconciling obligations and expenditures. So 8C, which is the entire project period, again for put in NA. This is Part C is for your entire grant for all 5 years of the grant. And since you're only 6 months into the grant, there's nothing you can provide there. So put NA or just leave it blank, either or. Do we have any questions yet? Is that clear as mud, clear as pudding?
No
Can
questions
you
in
tell
the
them?
chat right now, August.
Okay, can you tell I'm hungry? I could use some pudding.
Good traditional pudding.
Yeah. Actually, my people, we have salmon berries mixed in with seal oil, which is really, really good. But if there are any clinkets online, you know what I'm talking about. All right, so we're going to go into the next part, which is under indirect cost rate information. If your tribe is charging indirect costs against the grant, then you've also included it as a part of your budget in your approved grant application, then you have to mark yes in here, and then you're going to give us the percentage and what kind of indirect costs is being charged. Who the federal agency is, who's the cognizant agency. Some have education. If it's going to be other, it's either HHS or BIA or DOL. You're going to identify who the cognizant agency is that approved the indirect cost rate agreement. What percentage? And this is why we actually ask your finance or business office to complete this, because they can include the cost rate base and answer these questions here at the bottom. Now, what I will say is if you have been approved, and this is where we've been getting some confusion, if you have been approved for a de minimis rate at 15% or 10% for the previous budget period, 15% for this current budget period, then this question applies to you, and you can put an X right next to C here. I know it says the grantee is not a state, local government, local education agency, training program recipient, but we are, if we've approved a de minimis rate for your tribe, please mark C. All right. If any of these apply, D or E, which they typically don't, go ahead and mark those, and you'll have a chance to further describe that later on. All right, so we are moving now down to the second page. Under human subjects, you do not have human subjects since you are not a higher education program and you're not an institution review board. So you're going to mark NA on that. I don't know why there's an X next to yes, but you're going to watch this editing in progress. We're going to delete that yes. And choose NA for question number 10. And then this is another change in this form. We used to ask you to submit for us a statement regarding or affirming that you comply with security and privacy regulations. The change here is now that this question is specifically for Institutes of Education Science. So you're going to mark NA on this, and you are not going to have to submit to us again compliance to any data security or student privacy. So please mark NA and just leave it at that. We used to ask you to include that as a part of your executive summary or an attachment. Now you don't have to do that. Just mark NA and we're good with number 11. Under performance measure status and certification, what we're asking you to do for this one is to mark no for 12A. Because you are only reporting on the first 6 months of this grant of the first year, and you have not fully accomplished one whole year yet, which means that any data that you would include here would be skewed based off of the limited services you may have provided in the first 6 months. So we don't want to skew the data, and we don't want you to you don't want it to look like you're not doing anything. So choose no for question 12A. And for B, just type in December 30, 2025, because that is when your annual performance report for the entire first year will be due. Now, I want to read number 13 to you because it's very important. It reads, by signing this report, I certify to the best of my knowledge and belief that the report is true, complete, and accurate, and the expenditures, disbursements, and cash receipts are for the purposes and objectives set forth in the terms and conditions of the federal award. I am aware that any false, fictitious, or fraudulent information or the admission of any material fact may subject me to criminal, civil, or administrative penalties for fraud, false statements, false claims, or otherwise. U.S. Code Title 18, Section 1001, and Title 31, Sections 3729-3730 and 3801-33812. Further, to the best of my knowledge and belief, all data in this performance report are true, complete, and correct, and the report fully discloses all known weaknesses concerning the accuracy, reliability, and completeness of data reported. Now, I wanted to read that to you because you need to understand that the information you provide here is scrutinized. And so when we verify the data that you submit to us and cross-reference that to what you propose in your grant application, we want to make sure and protect you from any false statements you may have made. So as you review your performance report before you submit that, please make sure that you review it completely and make sure that all data you're including is absolutely accurate to the best of your ability. And if there are estimates, please include that as a part of your description in your report, that any expenditures or any data that you have included, identify which ones have been estimates, so we know that figure that you've included is subject to change or modification in the future. Do you have any questions on this portion yet?
Hey, August, is that really supposed to read 33812, or is that supposed to be 3812?
Probably 3812, but I can't change this form because it was developed by the Office of Management and Budget. So any typos they made in this one is on them. So it's probably 3812. I'm sure there's not 33,812 pages you have to go through. So good catch.
There's no questions in the chat box.
Okay. Name of authorized representative. That's going to be the person who either submitted the application or who you identified and is listed on the grant award notification as the authorized rep. And we want the title, and then we want signature and date. Now, these executive summary, which is the last pages, is where you can actually go in and fully describe any estimates or any information from the cover page that you think need further justification or explanation. In the executive summary, you can also include, if you wish, as success stories, as long as you don't include personal identifying information, PII, that would be fine. There also is a section within status chart that you can include success stories as well. But the executive summary, you can also include, if there are goals and objectives that you have not captured in the status chart, you can also include it here in the executive summary. All right, we are finished with this document. Do we have any questions regarding the cover page?
Nothing in the chat box.
Okay. I'm gonna stop sharing that one and I'll go to the next one. All right, does anybody have any jokes or anything to wake us back up?
August, this is Becca. Don't ask that question. Wayne will totally, he'll jump in.
No.
Just to add, just to circle back on the old form, August, it's Adrian and everyone. Also, the 250Q grants, this goes without saying too, like we can't in the system, we cannot have the project director and the certifying official as the same person. And so oftentimes you'll go back and forth with your project officer, us at RSA, and we're asking, hey, well, who's the interim person? Give us a letter that speaks to that. And so those people's names should match up. It's going to be signed off by your certifying official, but also, again, when you're going back and forth in a G5 system, it can't be the same person. I know with a lot of the new programs, you all are starting up and hiring people, but it's already been 6 months, so we should have kind of an interim person at least. The person that you're drawing down the salary of, who's running the program in this time frame. That's all I wanted to chime in on.
All right, thank you. All right, we are moving to the status chart, and we've simplified this, and we're going to start using this format for the annual performance report as well. So when we get to that part, which will be probably in September, we'll be asking for the same data. Now, this is GEPRA data. GEPRA means the Government Performance and Results Act that was passed back in the 90s. We had to come with specific performance measures to measure this program under. And these are the simplified, rephrased GEPRA measures to make it easier for you to submit your data to us. Now at the top, you're going to see PR award number. You're going to go ahead and type that in H250Q 2400 and whatever the last 2 digits are of your award number. This is not a status update, so please don't check this box. And again, this is an example page only. You will have a clean, unedited form available to you to enter your data in. So the fields that you see with stuff in it on this page will not be on the clean version. So you'll have someplace to actually enter your own data. All right, so under performance measure 1, and we divided this, you'll see over on top under quantitative data, there are 2 sections. We have target and we have actual performance and data. And the measure type, you're going to type in GEPRA here. And so to correspond with the 2 sections under quantitative data, we have over here the target and the actual. And the questions under target, you're going to enter the total number of individuals proposed to be served under an IPE during this reporting period. Now, since in your your approved grant application, you estimated the number of individuals served for an entire year, you can just divide that by 2, and you're going to enter that under raw number under target. So if you propose to serve 75 individuals in your first year, let's make it 70, just to make it so I can divide by 2. If you estimated that you're going to serve 70 individuals in 1 year, that's 70. You're going to divide that by 2, and you'll enter 35 here for the first 6 months of this project. And then for actual, you're going to write the total number of individuals who actually received VR services under an IPE during this reporting period. So out of the 35 individuals estimated to be receiving services within the first 6 months of your project, how many are actually receiving services under an IPE? So you'll put that number under raw number for the actual performance and data. For the ratio and percentage under each of these sections, you're going to leave blank. We don't need a percentage here. We're just asking for the numbers. For the second performance measure, we're asking again for the target to GEPRA measure, enter the number of individuals the project proposed to achieve an employment outcome during this reporting period. If you had proposed that you're going to place 40 individuals, 40, into employment during the entire year, you can divide that by 2 for the first 6 months and enter 20. 20 under raw
I'm
number.
sorry, can I interrupt? Can you explain that
Absolutely.
top part, quantitative data, one more time, please?
Okay, so quantitative data is divided into two sections. You have the target, which is what you're proposing to serve, right? Because this is underserved. And you have your actual, the actual number you're serving. So under target, you can put the proposed number that you're served in your grant. So for the first year, if you propose to serve 70 individuals, you're going to divide that by 2 because you're only reporting on your first 6 months of this first year of your grant. So 70 divided by 2 is 35. So you're going to put under your raw number for your target, which is how much you propose to serve, you're going to put 35. Under actual, you're going to actually count out how many individuals you actually served in your first 6 months. And you're going to place that number under actual performance data under raw number. You're not going to include any ratio, and you're not going to include any percentage for any of these. Okay?
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Now, the same thing goes for the next one under 1B, which is the enter the number of individuals the project proposed to achieve an employment outcome during this reporting period. Again, since you're only reporting on the first 6 months, if you propose to employ 40 individuals, you're going to divide that by 2 and put 20 in your raw number. As example only. Under actual performance data, you're going to count out how many you actually placed in employment during the first 6 months of your report, and you put it under raw number for actual. Do we have any questions? Now, these will meet your GetRep performance measured data that we're asking you to provide to us. There's one other data element that you need to include. Now, before we move to that, if your numbers, like if you propose to serve 35 in the first 6 months and you only served 15, then down here on the explanation of programs, you can type the number 1A, and then you can type in your explanation as to why you have not met your proposed numbers. Same goes for 1B. If you, for the first 6 months, you estimated you're gonna have 20 employment outcomes, but you only hit like 5 or 7. And again, down here under explanation of progress, you can put 1B and then type out your explanation for not meeting your proposed numbers. Looks like we have a raised hand. Can somebody call on that? I don't know who that is.
It's Bobby Rosa.
Hey,
Hello.
Bobby.
Hey there. So because we're dividing by 2, and what if we proposed like 25? In that area where we divide by 2, would we put like 12.5, or would we round up to the next number?
I mean, I would keep it at 12. I mean,
Adrian.
I can't imagine you having a half a person there.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, keep it at a whole person, I'd say. But
Okay.
I like the, the energy you're having with increasing. That's a
Yeah, it's
vibe.
like that's
Mhm.
like the census when they ask how, the average has 2.7 people in each household. It's like I've never had a 0.7 in my household. Anyway,
Hey, August, there's a question in the chat box.
sure.
Rachel Allen asked, will you discuss how the cases from the previous grant cycle carry over into these figures? What about a program that is in a no-cost extension? Do those numbers carry over the same way?
Oh, Rachel, I love you to death. You are definitely always asking me hard questions. Okay. So, let me finish with
So,
1C first, and I'll get back to that. Wayne, when I get done with 1C, can you reread that to me?
yes, I will. And just for
Okay.
reference, she does this to Avertac all the time too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we all know Rachel Allen. She's the Mary Lee of the old days. Do y'all remember Mary Lee? Probably not. Anyway. Okay, so 1C real quick. This is the data that has specifically to do with those individuals who were served under an IPE but were not successfully closed, or what we used to call a status 28. So the question reads, and you can put this in your status chart, enter the number of individuals who received VR services under an IPE, whether the IPE was developed during this reporting period or in a previous reporting period, but ended participation in the program during the reporting period without achieving employment outcome. That's very verbose. So that's basically asking for an unsuccessful closure. So for this one, again, it's a Gepper measure under target because you can't estimate how many are going to be unsuccessfully closed. You're just going to leave that blank. You're not even going to put anything under target. Under actual performance, you're going to enter the number of status 28s or unsuccessful closures you have for the first 6 months. Anybody have any questions on that? And then under explanation of progress, you can, if there's anything anomalous or you've actually went through all your case files and determined that there were a number that weren't coming in and you decided to close them because it's been 1.5 years since they've actually come in to talk to you, you can put those explanations down here and basically state that number of grantees have not been active, or no, I'm sorry, a number of participants have not been active. So if there's any explanation, that's just an example. If there's any explanations to these numbers, you're welcome to include that there. All right, so going back to Rachel's question, if you can reread the first one, and then after that, I'll get into sections B and C.
Okay, so
First part of the question.
she asked, will you discuss how the cases from the previous grant cycle carry over into these figures? That's the first one.
Okay,
And what
so wait, stop there.
okay.
Stop there. I can only handle one question at a time. I don't want to try to. My ADHD brain will not allow me to hold more than one question. So because this program carries over from one grant cycle to the next grant cycle, individuals being served, the way the Gepper measure questions ask the question is asking for how many people you served and placed. It doesn't ask you when those services started or when those, it doesn't ask you when those services started. It just asks you how many served and placed. Now, each grant application does include how many you will recruit as new participants per year. I'll say some of you have placed, you have worded your grant applications in such a way that it says that you will recruit a certain amount of new applicants per year. It does not take into account the number of individuals you are already serving from a previous grant cycle. That's why the questions are broad as the way it is. So, having said that, if you have a number, the question is how many individuals are you serving per year? Have you proposed to serve? So we're only looking at the proposed numbers. How many did you propose to serve in that year? If you're already serving 15 or 30 people and you recruit another 45 people under this new grant cycle, then you're gonna enter the sum for that number, for the target. Is that right? Now I'm confusing myself. I just heard myself and that didn't sound right. Can I blame this on my twin brother? No. I am not. Okay, let me say this. I'm going to go back to the drawing board on this question because Rachel, you asked a great question. The Gepper measures don't take into account previously, participants who have been previously determined eligible in a prior grant cycle. And how does that specifically relate to the numbers you proposed in your new grant application? That is actually a very good question. My suggestion is if you want to give a more accurate depiction of how services, how many individuals are actually receiving services, you can include that under Part C of the status chart, which is additional information. That'll give us a more accurate picture of for any of these questions here. So, unfortunately, I'm seeing where the rub is on this, Rachel, and that's a very good catch. She says only asking you how many you propose to serve. It's not asking you how many you're actually or serving prior to the proposed numbers. So for now, until we get a more definitive answer, before I can get you a more definitive answer, what I will say is for this status chart, for these areas, go based off of the numbers that are in your current grant approved grant application for the first year. And then under Part C of this status chart, where you'll see additional information, you can enter in the number of services you're providing services to previous to this grant cycle, and then how many new participants you're providing services to from the beginning of this grant cycle, which is October 1, 2024. Rachel, does that make sense? Somebody can, if you types it in, let me know what the answer is.
Yeah.
And then the same thing we can do for the other two data elements, or for this data element. The third one, you don't have to worry about that, but for the third one, how many employments? How many have been employed? Actually, you know what? That only relates to the first question, the carryover from the previous grant cycle. So you're only going to have to provide that explanation for question 1A, which is you're going to describe under Part C of this status chart how many individuals receiving services in RIP came from a previous grant cycle, and then how many are receiving services for individuals determined eligible during this first 6 months of this grant. I will try to get you something written and that we can include as a part of the explanation in this example. And when I send this to Wayne to have it distributed, you should receive an updated status chart example that includes what I just described. Okay, let's tackle question number 2.
What about a program that is in a no-cost extension, and do these numbers carry over the same way?
So the no-cost extension, no, the no-cost extensions are not acquiring new participants. So you're not going to have any new data to report. In fact, the no-cost extension is actually addressing these data elements for an extended period. So, and you'll include that as a part of your final performance report. If you're running 2 grants at the same time, your new grant will only count those new individuals that have been determined eligible and are receiving services under an IPE starting as of October 1, 2024. That's for the new grant only, if you're under a no-cost extension. If you're not under a no-cost extension, you don't have to worry about that. But if you are, if you need further guidance, please contact your program officer on that. But for this training purposes, because the no cost extension is not accepting new participants, you will not have data to report for the new grant under 250Q. For the 250Q grant, if you're under no cost extension, you're only counting those individuals who have been determined eligible and are receiving VR services under the new grant starting as of October 1, 2024.
Okay,
And
so
again,
that-
I can put that in writing again as well.
we had another question from
Okay.
Megan. Tribal elections are scheduled for May and June, which may result in changes to leadership and the designation of a new authorized representative. Should such a transition occur, could you please advise if there's a formal protocol we are required to follow? And just as a note, August, you got 9 minutes left.
Okay, thank you. So for changes in authorized rep, if the change happens during or prior to the due date for your 6-month performance report, then make that change as soon as you can under the with your program officer. Send that change to your program officer so they can update it in G5, and that new authorized rep will be responsible for signing the cover sheet. If the change happens after May 15th, submit as is with the old authorized rep signing it. And the sooner you can get it in, the better. So you can submit it early if you need to, or if you can. That way it does not interfere with the submission of this report. And then after you submit the report, if there's a change in authorized rep, just contact your program officer with the contact information for that new individual, and we can update that in G5. All right, so real quick, I know we have 7 minutes left. Let me go through the last two parts, section B and section C. Section B is the budget information. We do prefer you use bullet points. It's just easier. You don't have to put it in a narrative format. So just use bullet points, and hopefully it'll save you some time as well. So bullet points are preferred. You can make any additional explanations or justifications for budgets described in part 8 of the cover sheet. Anything regarding the budget, if you needed to explain to us what's going on with the matching or the indirect, you can put that under budget information. For cost share matching requirements, if the de minimis rate was approved, please provide a date approval was received. That'll just help us to maintain or keep track of when approvals are sent and the percentage you're using to, or the tribe is using to charge against indirect. All right, section C, additional information. Again, bullet points are preferred, and then provide a progress report on the goals and objectives of the approved grant application for the first year of the grant. Now you'll see in the status chart that we did not include all of your goals and objectives. Under section C, you can actually include any goals and objectives that have not been captured under 1A, 1B, or 1C above here in section C. And just let us know how the progress is going for those specific goals, objectives, and activities. Now you're only listing those goals, objectives, and activities for the first year, not your entire 5 years. So just describe those for the first year and let us know how you're progressing on achieving those specific goals, objectives, and activities. And that's the end of this form. All right, let's get to some of those questions. If everybody's okay with going a little bit over our 1 hour time limit, I will stay on as long as you have questions. If you need to sign off at the end of this time, you're more than welcome to do so. So let's go ahead and go through some of the questions.
Okay, so we have Vanessa asking, do we provide information on the status charts for each objective we have?
You can put that in section C of the status chart. any objectives, goals and objectives that are quantifiable or qualifiable, that are specific for the first year, you can include that as part C.
And then Serena asked, just in case, can we have these questions emailed to us as reference as well? And then I responded and Rebecca responded that ARTAC will make sure these are examples are available. They will be on our website, and the video will be on the website as well. And the recording will be put up on our YouTube channel as so we have it in 2 places.
Okay, anybody have any other
Tammy had
questions?
one more question
Okay.
about putting it into G5. Earlier, August asked that we email it and do not use G5.
Yes. And everybody applauded and said, yay, we don't have to use G5. All right, so
Just to add to that, if it's something that you're worried about, you could always send a read receipt on your email. Okay.
all right, well, we thank you for your time and attention. I know this was pretty dry. I hope you all came with like coffee or something to drink. I hope we were helpful. If you have any additional questions or need some guidance, please reach out to your program officer, myself, Adrian, Veronica, or Joy, and we will try to get you an answer as soon as we can. And thank you for your time. You all have a great day, and thank you.
August, I think there was a last question somebody
Oh,
put
good.
in there. They asked, can we attach a budget received from our finance department?
A budget receipt.
Received.
Received.
I,
A budget
oh.
received from their finance department. Can they
I-
attach that to the email?
yeah, I mean, if it's going to help explain your budget, then absolutely.
Yeah, we get those too. It just doesn't negate or take away from the fact of, you know, the 524B that's required and the elements that we're asking for.
I will say though, each finance office has their own language, has their own shorthand and their own way of deciphering what's in their books. So if you send us something from your budget, something that would help us decipher, would be very much appreciated.
Shelley raised her hand, August.
Okay,
Hey,
what do you got for me, Shelley?
my question is, I was taking notes like the whole time, so I might have not have got everything, but you said you're gonna send us or get to Wayne like just exactly what you explained to us and whatnot in writing.
Yes, yes, I will
Okay.
include it as a part of the status chart to answer Rachel's questions and further explanation for some of the data we're requesting.
And then for the 6 months, we need the GEPRA and the project measures.
Yes, the program, well, what we're asking for is the GEPRA measures, and we're asking for any goals, objectives, or activities that you described in your approved grant application for the first year in Part C of the status chart, just to let us know how you're progressing towards those goals, objectives, and activities.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep.
Okay. No more questions. Everybody's saying thank you. Good to see you. Happy Easter.
All right, thank you, everybody.